Today I'm doing a long-term look at Maven filters, both Wave 1 and Wave 2. Okay, so today I'm going to do a long-term look at Maven filters. I've been using them for quite a while. I used Wave 1s quite a bit. I'll talk a little bit about that story, and then we'll talk about Wave 2 filters, which I've been using for over a year now, I guess. But anyways, just set the stage here. One, this video is going to be completely unscripted. I didn't even do bullet points, and most of my videos I either script or do bullet points, so we're going completely unscripted. Two, I'm coming out here to my favorite spot, Hocking Hills, and we've been getting rain for, about the past 24 hours or so, and it's been coming down pretty good. So I'm expecting the waterfalls to be super impressive. We shall find out. We're almost to the first one we're going to visit. But yeah, the trip here was hectic. Road was closed, my normal route, so I ended up having to circle around, go up on the ridges, take the road that follows the ridges more so they weren't flooded out. But made it here. We're going to hit the first falls. First falls is Ash Cave. But yeah, that's the background. But like I said, we will talk about the Maven filters, sort of a long-term review. We'll talk about the Wave 1 series a little bit and my experiences with them. Talk about the Wave 2 series a little bit. But what I think is important is gear reviews. You know, I do them on my channel, and a lot of times we get gear and we've only had it for 4 to 6 weeks. I always try to use my gear for a bit before I do a video on it. But a lot of times folks don't follow up on what's it been like over the long term. Like Wave 1, I've had those filters over 2 years now. So this is, like I said, I just think those long-term looks at things are, how are they doing? Do I still like them? Have they held up? Would you do something different now? I just think that's super valuable, and I don't think enough YouTubers get around to do it. Yeah, we do the initial looks, the unboxings, we do the 6-month reviews. Sometimes we'll even follow up with a year-long review. But that's sort of what we're going to talk about today. Last little expectation setting. I'm not going to dive into super details on any of these filters. I have detailed videos on each of these different setups. I will link to all of those down in the description below. So if you're hearing me talking about the linear polarizer and you're like, what is that? How's it different? The link to that video will be down below. You know, full-on benefits of magnetic filters. I could talk about that all day long. We'll touch on it. But if you want my detailed feedback, comments, it'll be down in the description below. So like I said, this is going to be more of a recap. 2 years with Maven filters. What do I think? Would I buy them again? Just general thoughts and stuff. So I'm going to head on down the trail, and we'll see if Ash Cave Falls is roaring or not. So back with you in a couple minutes. Yeah, that's flowing really good. If not the most flow I've seen, right up there with the most flow I've seen. But yeah, massive amounts of rain over the past 24 hours. So let's get set up. The lens had my LPL, which was from Wave 2 Maven Kickstarter, Wave 2 Kickstarter. Just because I want to sort of go in order, talk about Wave 1 first. I'm going to swap it out for the CPL from Maven, which was in Wave 1. Circular polarizer versus a linear polarizer. Again, I dive into the specifics on the differences down below, but I think the key point, without getting too far ahead, is really I sort of swap between the CPL and the LPL interchangeably, whichever one's closest. Normally, if I wasn't doing this video, I would have just left the LPL on. If it had come out of the bag with the CPL, I would have left it on. So I tested the CPL a couple of years ago. Again, tons of links down in the description below. And I had no problems. I thought it was great. I saw very little color cast or anything like that. But when Maven released the LPL, they said the CPL has a hint of a yellow cast to it, a warm cast to it. I think I probably didn't notice it because I tend to take my shots a little to the warm side. I usually find myself warming them up a bit, then cooling them down. So I think that's probably why I didn't notice it. But as far as quality-wise, the circular polarizer is great. Like I said, real quickly, the circular polarizer, it'll work on DSLRs and things like that. Whereas the linear polarizer, the way it handles the light and the way it comes through, it can mess up the metering on a DSLR because of the way the mirror works and like that. But on mirrorless, an LPL works great. And because of what they were able to do with it, it has no color cast to it or anything like that. So that's the difference between a CPL and LPL. But the CPL, circular polarizer, was from Wave 1 of Maven. So I've had this filter for a little over 2 years, and that's it. But we're going to get this on, going to get a couple shots, and we'll play with this. Okay, so Maven Filters, they started doing Kickstarters. That's how they tend to launch their products, is they do a Kickstarter, and you know, you go fund it as a crowd-funded project, and then once it hits its goals, they ship things out. So the Wave 1 Kickstarter was the first one Maven did, and it was your basic filter set, right? It was ND filters, a 3-stop, a 6-stop, a 10-stop, a CPL filter, and it had a splash guard, and then, of course, lens caps, which are back in the camera bag. All magnetic system. I'd already been using magnetic filters when Maven launched their Kickstarter, and I really liked the magnetic filters. It made my life so much easier that I'll never go back to a threaded filter. So I only use magnetic filters. But what Maven really brought to the table is color-coded filters. So this is the CPL filter, circular polarizer, and it's blue. And you can see when you put it on the lens, it is super easy to see. You can see it's right there. If you've got a pouch of filters, it's super easy to see when you look in there. Now I've got a mix of filters in here, but I do have the NDs in here from Wave 1 as well. And they're super easy to identify, which is super handy. When I'm looking in this pouch, I don't have to look at like 6 black ringed filters and figure out what I want. I know by color coding what I want. So like here's a red filter. This is the 3-stop ND filter. So if this water was running a little slower and I wanted an ND filter so I could slow my shutter speed a little more, super easy to grab it. You know, you toss this in here, and there we go, color coded. If I just open this up, need a filter, oh, I want my CPL, it's blue, grab it and go. So the color coding is really what initially attracted me to the filters. Something unique, easy to find, and I'm always looking for efficiencies to get in the field. Anything that makes my tools easier to use in the field lets me spend more time focusing on my creativity and my compositions, everything like that. Anyways, Wave 1 Maven filters, I paid for that with my own money. I got them, man, over 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I think I got them just before my Rocky Mountain National Park trip, maybe even a couple weeks sooner. I might have been able to play with them before I went on that trip. Maybe it was December-ish, but a little over 2 years ago. Super happy with them. I was always super happy with them. The color coding was great. They stayed on the lens well. The lens caps were fine. You know, no complaints. Like I said, I've done full-on reviews on these filters before, and I'll link to those down in the description below. But what we want to get to is sort of my usage over the 2 years, right? So I used them for a while, and then I got intrigued by another filter company's brand. They ended up coming out with some color coding, and I had sort of an opportunity open up there. And so I tried their filters out, and I used them for quite a while. And I kept my Mavens, kept my Wave 1s. Just what was going out in the field with me was this other filter company brand. And it was really just more as a YouTuber trying to get experience with different things, more things, just so that I have context to draw upon. I feel like if you only have used one, well, you're always going to talk good about it, right? So sometimes you need to switch and try different things just to see how they perform. It gives you context. It gives you experience to draw from when you talk about filters. At this point, I feel like I'm pretty well versed on filters between all the different types of filters I use. Anyways, so fast forward. I was using another brand's filters for a while, never got rid of my Mavens, and Maven put out a Wave 2 Kickstarter. That Kickstarter was, wow, when was that? That was like late December last year, maybe? Early January, so a little over a year ago. So they came out with that, and one of the key things they brought with that is they brought a dark CPL, which super intrigued me because what it was an ND filter combined with a polarizing filter. So instead of having to stack 2 filters, I can get an ND effect and the polarizing effect, take those reflections and glares off. Super intrigued. I saw them post about it on their social media, and I messaged them because they knew me. They knew who I was. They'd liked my videos I'd done on the Wave 1 and stuff in the past. And so I messaged them on social media, man, that looks attractive, because my one thing, wide angle lens, I like to use, it's an 82mm filter size, and I like my stuff small and compact. In my bag, I like lightweight. I don't like things taking up a whole lot of room. So I don't like to use a step-up ring to the larger filter, which is what you need to do to avoid vignetting. On a wide-angle lens, if I'm at 14mm and put this on and then stack a filter, you do get a little bit of vignetting with it. Enough that you sort of have to zoom out to like 15, maybe 16mm to get a clean shot. I live with that compromise because I value the small size. But you know, that's always just one of those things. In any of my filter reviews, you'll hear me mention, what's the vignetting like at 14mm on this Nikon 14-30? This dark CPL means I only have to put one filter on to get that stacked effect, an ND and a polarizing effect. So anyways, I messaged Maven. I said, man, that looks super cool. Just encouragement, right? For a Wave 2. Well, I got messaged back by Michael, the owner of Maven Filters, and he was like, hey, how would you like to try them out? So we went through some discussions and stuff like that, and they sent me a set to try from Wave 2. I did not try all the Wave 2 filters. In fact, I still have some I need to test. We'll touch on that. But the key ones I was super interested in were the dark CPLs. I got a 10-stop dark CPL, 6-stop dark CPL, and a 3-stop dark CPL. And then the linear polarizing filter, which was, we talked about it when we first got here, how those are different. So I got all those in Wave 2. And at that point, I pretty much switched back to using Maven filters all the time. And that's what I've been using for over the past year. My past year of experience with Maven filters has been using the dark CPLs. Sometimes you don't want the combined effect of an ND and a CPL. So I've been using the ND filters by themselves from Wave 1. We talked about it. I sort of rotate between the CPL, the circular polarizing filter, and then linear polarizing filter, whichever one's closest. So both of those have seen usage, you know, over time. So that's sort of been my use. Oh, and then of course the dark CPLs are amazing. To circle back to that, yes, they did solve my vignetting problem. I could toss on here 14 millimeters, got a video demonstrating that, and it pretty much gets rid of the vignetting, or at least a very minimal amount. Not problematic, could easily lighten up. I tend to add a touch of a vignette to my photos in Lightroom or Photoshop anyways. So that hint of a vignette from the filter is not a big deal for me. It's not a mechanical vignette. It's just a touch of a shadow, just ever so slight, not a problem for me at all due to the way I sort of edit my photos anyways. Yeah, so that's like my 2+ years of Maven filter usage. I have lots of experience with them. Like I said, I did do that little break from them for a little while to experiment with other manufacturer filters. But I think that's what gives me confidence with the Maven filters, is because I did go away from them for a while and use a different brand and try them out, use their newest, latest, greatest. And I came back to Maven. Some of the things I noticed with the other brand is there was a bit of a color cast on some of those NDs and CPLs. You could see that more warming effect off of the CPL filter. I'd get in sometimes in certain conditions, especially down in this park, I would get sometimes a bit of a color cast off that other brand filters. I switched back to Maven and it was just sort of like a joy to come back to, because the color cast was like non-existent from the ND filters. I know they say the CPL from Maven has a touch of a warming. I mean, that's Maven saying it. I tend to edit warm. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, that sums up my experience. My usage, and that's what I want to focus on in this bit. What's my usage for the next things I'm going to say about what I like about these filters and how they perform. That's my usage. I've had a little over 2 years, bit of a break, another manufacturer, but I've got a lot of time in on these filters. I've been super happy with them. So let's pause there for a second. I'm going to try to look for another couple compositions, and then let's just come back and talk a little bit about 2 years of Maven filters, the things I still like, the things I'd like to see, and go from there. Okay, I know I said I was going to wrap up, but there is something to note. On Wave 2 filters, I focused a lot on their dark CPLs and their LPL filter because that's what I tend to use the most. But that wave of filters had several other filters with it. In fact, I do own their 20-stop ND filter. Used it to photograph the eclipse back in April last year, and it worked great for that, no problems. A 20-stop would work really good for some really soft clouds and stuff, but I haven't really had an opportunity to do that. It's been on my list. I just really, one of my big trips where it would have worked really well, it was near cloudless the whole workshop, so I really didn't have an opportunity to get some sweet clouds moving, but it worked great for that. I also have their infrared filter, which goes on. I've played with it a teeny tiny bit in the backyard, and I think it is probably a great way to experiment and play with infrared photography. And I do have intentions of getting out and playing with it more, but I really haven't done a lot with it beyond just sort of going out on the back patio, playing, getting a feel for it. Definitely not enough usage to do a video on it just yet, but it's on my list. But and there's some starry focus filters, night sky filters. Wave 2 has a whole bunch of options. So like I said, even though I've been focused on the dark CPL and the LPL filter, because that's what I use like bread and butter for me as a landscape photographer. Maven has lots of other filter options out there, especially with that Wave 2. So go take a look at their website. You know, the Kickstarters are over, but you can get things directly off their website. And if you do that, please use my link down below in the description. That is an affiliate link, gets me a little bit of extra money from Maven. They're super supportive of landscape photographers in general, I should say. I'm just so focused on landscape photographers. But yeah, if you do go purchase a Maven filter, please use my affiliate link down below. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It gets me a little bit of extra money to help do these trips and do these videos, so it's appreciated. So yeah, I'm gonna walk a little bit more. I just sort of wanted to wrap up away from the falls. Probably gonna be a lot of audio cleanup. Hopefully I haven't been rambling too much. I just sort of wanted this video, I don't know, doing gear reviews can get pretty, what can I say? I'm trying to think of the right word for it. I can't even think of the right word. They're, too clean and precise. I guess. I don't know, still not the right word, but anyways, we're gonna walk here a little bit more, and we'll sort of wrap up this video. And like I said, hopefully I haven't rambled too much. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're back here at the Forerunner. This might be just a touch quieter. There'll be a little bit of road noise over there, but I thought it'd be a good place, and it gets me out of the range to talk about this. So anyways, 2 years with Maven filters. Did have a little bit of a break in there, but I've been using them extensively, wave 1, wave 2, for a little over a year now, and I had some time prior to that. And, you know, like I said, this isn't really a details video. If you want to see more about each of those filters, the filter types, wave 1, wave 2, links to other videos down in the description below. But again, 2-year review, really happy with these filters. I really don't see myself switching away from them. Maven in general is very innovative. They've got the color-coded rings, super easy to see. Some other manufacturers, they color code them, but there's still a lot of black around them, so you have to look a little harder. It is super obvious to see the color coding on the Maven filters, which is nice. Again, efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. I want my tools to get out of my way. That includes my camera, my tripods, my filters. I want all of that stuff just to be secondary and not consume a lot of time and thought or anything like that, so that I can focus on my photography. And magnetic filters checks that box. Color coded, that's easy to see, easy to read, checks that box. You know, I didn't really mention it out there by the waterfall, but the filters also have different patterns on the side. So if you can almost identify them by feel once you learn it well enough. So if you're in the dark or something like that, you can almost identify them by feel. But just little details, attention to detail like that, just really makes those filters above and beyond the other filters out there. Quality of filters, like I said, they're lightweight. You know, we talked about why I do 82mm filters, because I like them small, the pack down small. I like that. Image quality, super important when it comes to filters, right? You're spending all this money on your camera, spending all this money on your lenses, and you're gonna put a piece of glass in front of it, right? And if that filter is not high quality, you're sort of diminishing all that money you've spent on the lenses and the cameras. And really, my experience with Maven filters, the image quality is great. No color cast off the ND filters. I don't ever really find myself coming home and be like, oh, why does this have this tint to it, this hue to it? Just don't run that into that with the Maven filters. It's just super quality. You know, we've talked a couple times about the CPL. Maven says it has a hint of a yellow cast to it. I don't notice it. I like my photos on the warm side anyway, so maybe it's just because that's where my head goes, but I didn't really notice a lot with CPL. I don't think I even mentioned it in my first video on wave 1 filters because it just didn't catch my eye. The linear polarizer is supposed to remove that color cast. I don't see it there either, so it worked great. But again, it's another case of Maven not resting on their laurels, but continuing to push the innovation on their filters as much as they can. So, and on that note, you know, on the linear polarizer, you can actually pair it with an ND filter and get a variable ND effect. Sort of handy, especially if you're doing video like I do. It can be handy for that out in the field. If you just need a touch more, you want to find that in between ND filter, you can sort of get that variable ND effect, which is pretty cool. But again, all this time, my filters have been to the Rocky Mountain National Park, Death Valley, out here in Hocking Hills numerous times. They've been out in West Virginia. They've been lugged around in my pack here to there, photographed waterfalls, fall scenes, you name it. I've had them out there photographing it. And I can't recommend them enough. They've been very happy with them. If you're considering getting some magnetic filters or anything like that, give Maven a serious look. They're still out there innovating. They're still doing great stuff. Super great crew to support landscape photographers. Their customer support's always been great for me. Anytime I've had a question or anything like that, I always get a quick response. They support photographers on social media. Go watch and follow their social media. They're out there to support you and help you. If you're using their filters, they do a lot of reshares. And it's small, but it's nice to know a manufacturer supports people buying their product. So yeah, I really have no complaints about Maven. You know, areas of improvement, I really don't have a whole lot. That dark CPL, when it came out, you know, that would have been my big feedback, is how do I get this vignetting to go away? It vignetted slightly worse probably than some of my other filters out there. You know, it wasn't a deal breaker. I don't mind zooming into 15, 16 millimeters to get away from that. But they fixed it. They came out, dark CPL, amazing. Combined filter fixes that vignetting problem right up. So they listen to folks. Anyways, I'm rambling enough. Like I said, I went no script. Hopefully you guys can put up with it. Let me know in the comments if I should go back to scripting things or keep playing with this no script aspect of things. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it's not too rambly. If you want to hear more about Maven, I'll put some of my most popular videos right up here where I've talked about Maven filters and things like that. So if you want to see more, click those links, watch them. That's where I dive into the details of these things. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Thanks again.